remember, when you see the little note up there that the live is on, to tell people that they're being live streamed.
Okie doke. I'll make sure to remember that. All right, are we ready?
Let's do it.
Soup's on. Let's go. Let them in. Anybody got their finger on the button?
Here we go.
Sweet. Hello, hello, hello. Jeannie. Hello, Miss Jeannie. Hi, Sabrina. Hello, Miss Deanna. Hello, Karen. Hello. Hello, Eva and Sharon. Hello, Joseph. So good to see you again. Glad you could join us. Hello, Carrie and Mira. Hello, Miss Sharon. Hi, Merritt. Miss Cheryl. Hi, Bruce. Miss Nancy. Miss Dennett. Miss Gina. So good to see y'all. So nice that y'all are here with us today. Thank y'all so much for being here. Hi, Chris. Sorry if I missed you. I have a thin line across instead of a big. Welcome, y'all, to Sorting Soup Book Club. As we let everyone in, I am going to tell you that we are streaming live to YouTube. So if you do not want your video or your face to be on video, now is the time to turn off your video, and you can do that in the lower left-hand corner of your Zoom. But I just want to welcome y'all. I want to welcome you to Sorting Soup, to the book club. And while you are coming in, and just say thank you so much for taking a moment to be here with us. And as we chop up the veggies and, pour in the ingredients and the spices, as we do, getting all the things put together, we can take down the title slide. Thank you. I want to see everybody. Hi, everybody. All right. So real quickly, before we get started, today we are going to be talking about the theocratic police state. So I'm just going to start by saying today's not going to be an easy conversation. All right. So I'm going to say, and this is something that's probably going to be said a couple of times today. If you need to take a break, it's okay. We understand. Deep breaths, okay? And this is the place for venting. This is the place to process. This is the place for understanding. But this is also a place of respect. So all that being said, let's get started with Sorting Soup. Okay. Hi, I'm Cecilia, the co-facilitator from Eastern Illinois Indivisible, and Beth M. is also your co-facilitator from Southeastern Michigan. We have Dr. Melissa on. She's up in Canada. And we have Dr. Chris, but she is currently at a overpass action. Yeah, she's in an overpass action. So we will have her if we need her, but she's doing double duty. I'm pretty sure we'll have boot money, but he'll be late, I think. And so we have Rebecca as our timekeeper, tech support. And we have Laura as well, as our chat monitor. And I'm not sure if we'll have Merle again, but point is, y'all, once again, we have an amazing crew here who is always here to help you in any way, shape, or form we can. So on to the next. Logistics.
Yes, logistics. So again, welcome to Sorting Soup Book Club. This is a group space, and we are reading. We are reading together. We're currently working on Project 2025 Survival Guide. We've been taking it in chunks, and we are up to chapter 9, which is about the police state, as Cecilia mentioned. So we spend our time doing this and working through the emotional fallout. We think about things analytically because knowledge is power, and that allows us to turn our awareness of what's happening into action plans, thinking about how to help our neighbors or vulnerable people who are vulnerable to the effects of Project 2025 and how to support them. And I know for me personally that as hard as it is to read about a lot of this stuff, if it's not a surprise when it happens, that in itself can be helpful for me. In terms of group norms, we will have, like I said, we'll take turns reading. And if you would like to be one of the reading volunteers, you can raise your digital hand. We will also ask that during the discussion portion that folks raise their digital hand in order to partake in the discussion, and then we will call on you. We do ask that people keep their comments civil and constructive. As Cecilia mentioned, this is some pretty emotional stuff. And if you need to take a break, that's absolutely allowed. Step away, do some deep breathing, and come back to us when you can. So the plan for the day, as we mentioned, is that we will be doing group reading together. I did see somebody in the chat that's saying, I haven't done the reading. Am I going to miss out? We're going to read together. I'll plop the PDF in the chat here in a second, and I'll also have it up on the screen for people to read from in real time. We're doing one chapter at a time. We'll read aloud, we'll read together, and then we'll have a discussion portion. That's where that raising your digital hand will come in handy. It's the react button that looks like a heart, and then you'll hit raise hand. Each person will have about 2 minutes to share. And if there are multiple people with their hands up and you are a little wordy, we may have to cut you off to move on to the next person just so everyone gets to take a turn. But you can raise your hand and speak multiple times. And then hopefully, depending on how that discussion time goes, but hopefully we have time at the end for a palate cleanser. I know I always feel better when we're able to wrap up our session with a little chapter of lessons from cats for surviving fascism. So that is the plan. And just as a note, we do have a hard stop today at 6:30 because there is another event scheduled at 7 and they need their planning time. That starts at 6:30. So we will be cutting off at 6:30 sharp. So before we get into all of that, Cecilia is going to lead us in some grounding.
All right, y'all. Our Bardo moment, our Bardo breathing real quickly, okay? And if you're new here, this is where we take a moment because, again, this is hard. So if you can, make sure that wherever you are, your feet are contacted on the floor, your hands, just soften your jaw, let your shoulders drop. Take a normal breath in through the nose and a long, slow exhale out through your mouth. Again, in through the nose and a long sigh out. Silently name where you are in your organizing Bardo right now. And the Bardo is between where and where. Between exhaustion and action. Between fear and showing up between anger and strategy. Just name it to yourself. Now we're going to breathe in for 4, hold it, and out for 6. So it's deep breath in through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, and exhale through your mouth 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue at your own pace. You don't have to count. Just each inhale, imagine drawing in exactly what you need for our struggle. Courage, clarity, solidarity. On each exhale, let go of what you cannot carry into the next action. Self-blame, perfectionism, the last meeting that didn't go how you wanted. If the counts feel like too much, shorten them and keep the same shape. Inhale, hold, long exhale, brief pause. Now we'll shift into a Bardo sigh. A 2-part inhale and 1 long exhale. Breathe in halfway through the nose, pause, and then sip in a little more air on top. Then exhale slowly through the mouth like a gentle sigh until the lungs feel empty. As you inhale in 2 parts, feel the reality of what we're up against. As you exhale in 1 long release, feel your body remembering that you are not alone, that movements have survived worse, and that you belong to a lineage of organizers. Let your breath return to its natural rhythm. Take 1 more deep breath before, and then slowly back to its natural rhythm on its own. Notice your feet on the floor, the weight of your body, any small pockets of ease. Ask yourself, what is 1 quality I'm bringing back from this Bardo? Maybe steadiness, focus, tenderness, or just, I'm still here. On your next inhale, breathe that quality into your chest. On the next exhale, imagine it radiating out to your comrades, your community, everyone fighting alongside you on this call. And take 1 last deep breath together. Hold. And exhale, letting the practice go, but keeping the steadiness you've built. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes, lift your gaze, and we'll get started. All right. We find ourselves at chapter 9, the theocratic police state. Do we have anyone who would like to read today? Chris. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you could read the first 8 paragraphs, I'd be greatly appreciative. And I guess I have to unmute you, don't I?
Okay. get this close. The theocratic police state, immigration, borders, and race-based governance. Project 2025 is not merely a set of administrative reforms. It is a reimagination of the state itself, its identity, its enemies, and its instruments of power. Nowhere in this reimagination more explicit than in its treatment of immigration and borders. I skipped a verb there. What appears on the surface as policy aimed at national security or cultural cohesion reveals itself, under scrutiny, to be a project of radicalized governance built on exclusion, surveillance, and theocratic logic. Immigration becomes the battlefield on which citizenship is redefined, not as a legal status, but as a moral and ethnic identity tethered to an idealized version of real America. Under Project 2025, immigration is framed not as a component of national growth, demographic reality, or historical continuity. It is treated instead as a threat to sovereignty, security, and civilization itself. This reframing is central to the logic of the project. In its literature, immigrants are rarely described in terms of human aspiration, labor contribution, or global displacement. They are instead invoked as invaders, vectors, or symptoms of moral and institutional decay. Language shifts accordingly. Border crossings become invasions. Asylum becomes exploitation. Multiculturalism becomes balkanization. The terms of the debate are militarized before the human realities can even be acknowledged. In this system, the border is not merely a line on a map.
Sorry about that.
Wait a second.
Thank you, though, it got bigger. It
Okay.
becomes an organizing principle of governance, a way to categorize, control, and criminalize. It is projected inward into schools, hospitals, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Immigration enforcement becomes domestic policy. ICE raids are normalized. Detention facilities proliferate. Access to public services is conditioned on not only on need, but on legal status. The state ceases to be a neutral guarantee of rights and becomes instead a sorting mechanism, deciding who belongs, who is tolerated, and who must be removed.
Wait,
Cecilia.
please stop.
Did I miss something?
I'm in the book and I'm totally lost. Like did we miss this? This rhetoric is not new, but Project 2025 builds upon it with an infrastructure of enforcement designed to transform the United States into a fortress nation. Did we miss that?
I don't
Yeah.
have that in here.
Oh,
We don't have it in here, right?
oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay. It's a me thing, not a you thing. You keep going then.
It sounds good though. I mean, maybe you should read that, Cecilia.
Okay. I'll read this and then we'll pick
And then
up.
when we get back to in this system,
Okay. Ah, I see where that is. Just a second. It's just a few,
Okay.
it's just a couple few. Hold on. Okay, this rhetoric is not new, but Project 2025 builds upon it with an infrastructure of enforcement designed to transform the United States into a fortress nation, not only at its physical borders, but throughout its interior. The plan calls for a radical expansion of deportation mechanisms, the aggressive use of detention, and the revival or reinforcement of programs that deputize local law enforcement to act as federal immigration agents. The result is not just a stronger border, it is a more pervasive, more aggressive, and more racialized state presence in the lives of millions. Crucially, the project blurs the line between immigration policy and racial politics by targeting not only unauthorized entry, but also the broader presence of non-white, non-Christian, and non-English speaking populations. It constructs a framework in which whiteness and Americanness are functionally synonymous. Policies that appear bureaucratic, such as visa restrictions, green card limitations, or the narrowing of asylum criteria, are in fact tools of demographic engineering designed to reshape the cultural and racial composition of the nation in line with a nativist ideal. At the core of this effort is the belief that the American identity must be preserved, not through democratic inclusion, but through exclusionary control. Citizenship is no longer a right guaranteed by birth, legal process, or constitutional principle. It becomes a conditional status revocable not only through legal infraction, but through ideological or cultural nonconformity. The expansion of surveillance technologies, including facial recognition, biometric tracking, and social media monitoring, further entrenches this logic, transforming public space into a domain of permanent suspicion for anyone who does not conform to the normative model. And there you go.
And that's when it picks up with in this system?
Yes.
Okay. In this system, the border is not merely a line on a map. It becomes an organizing principle of governance, a way to categorize, control, and criminalize. It is projected inward into schools, hospitals, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Immigration enforcement becomes domestic policy. ICE raids are normalized. Detention facilities proliferate. Access to public services is conditioned not only on need but on legal status. The state ceases to be a neutral guarantor of rights and becomes instead a sorting mechanism, deciding who belongs, who is tolerated, and who must be removed. This racialized apparatus is also deeply gendered and religious. Project 2025's vision of national identity is not only white, it is patriarchal and Christian. Immigrant communities that do not conform to this model are not simply foreign. They are framed as culturally incompatible, morally suspect, or even dangerous. Muslim immigrants, for instance, are often cast as threats to national security or as carriers of anti-American values. Latin American migrants are associated with crime and disorder. Black immigrants are rendered invisible, their narratives subsumed under broader racial scripts of domestic criminality.
Thank you.
In reinforcing these stereotypes, Project 2025 taps into centuries of American racial mythology. The immigrant is the other, an outsider who must prove worthiness through exceptional obedience, productivity, or silence. And even then, that worthiness is always provisional. The legal permanent resident, the dreamer, the refugee, the asylum seeker, all are suspended in a space of conditional legitimacy, where rights are fragile and presence is politicized. The consequences of the system are not hypothetical. They are lived daily by millions of people. Families are separated. Legal pathways are arbitrarily closed. Deportations occur without due process. Immigration workers are exploited under the threat of denunciation. Children grow up under constant fear. Entire communities self-police, avoiding interaction with authorities, skipping school events, or foregoing medical care for fear of being exposed. What Project 2025 offers is not security, it is institutionalized trauma, dressed in the language of sovereignty. And while the economic arguments for mass exclusion are often front and center, claims of job theft, resource strain, or cultural dilution, the data consistently show otherwise. Immigrants contribute to GDP, fill critical labor shortages, and pay taxes at every level of government. They revitalize neighborhoods, launch businesses, and enrich civic life. But in the logic of Project 2025, these contributions are irrelevant. What matters is not what immigrants do, it is what they represent. a future that cannot be controlled, a demographic shift that cannot be reversed, a pluralism that cannot be reconciled with the project's ethno-religious vision. This is why the policy proposals are so aggressive, because the project recognizes that once the narrative of exclusion collapses, so does the entire framework of racialized governance. A society that embraces migration as a natural and beneficial force must also reckon with its own internal hierarchies. It must abandon the fantasy of homogeneity. May have said that wrong. And it must confront the deep contradictions between its democratic ideals and its exclusionary practices. Project 2025 in its design and intent resists this reckoning. It does not attempt to reconcile pluralism with nationalism. It chooses nationalism, and it defines it narrowly. In doing so, it lays the groundwork for a police state, not in the caricatured sense of tanks on the street, but in the pervasive sense of a society organized around suspicion, hierarchy, and control. The border, under this vision, is not a line to be defended. It is a system to be replicated internally until every difference becomes a potential threat and every person an object of classification.
Real quick, what is being built then is not just new immigration regime, it is a new form of citizenship, one based not on law or loyalty, but on lineage, religion, and conformity. And the price of admission is not contribution or commitment, but submission. How
Lord.
lovely. Yeah. All right, Judith, will you please start at the federal takeover of local power? Thanks so much, Chris.
Sure. The federal takeover of local power. American governance is premised on a delicate balance of power between branches of government, between states and the federal government, and between central authority and local autonomy. This balance is not merely procedural, it is foundational to the idea of democratic pluralism. Local governments are meant to reflect the values, needs, and identities of their communities within the broader framework of constitutional law. But Project 2025 proposes a dramatic reorientation of this balance, centralization of power under an ideologically driven federal executive, designed not to coordinate governance, but to dominate it. While publicly advocating for local control in areas like education or zoning, Project 2025 selectively abandons this principle when local governance stands in opposition to its national agenda. This contradiction is not accidental, it is strategic. The project's architects understand that the language of localism is politically useful, but only insofar as local authorities conform to the ideological framework imposed from above. When cities, counties, or even states attempt to protect reproductive rights, uphold sanctuary policies, enforce environmental standards, or defend civil liberties, they are recast not as laboratories of democracy, but as rogue jurisdictions in need of correction. This dynamic is clearest in the proposed expansion of federal law enforcement authority. Project 2025 outlines mechanisms for increased federal intervention in local policing, particularly in areas related to immigration enforcement, public protest, and perceived disorder. Programs such as 287G, which deputize local officers as immigration agents, are set to be dramatically scaled up. Federal agencies would be empowered to override local non-cooperation ordinances, undermining years of community-based policing reform. In effect, local police departments are transformed into extensions of federal power, not partners, but proxies. Beyond law enforcement, the project envisions a federal override of state and municipal policy in areas deemed contrary to its ideological goals. Cities that seek to protect abortion access, for example, may face targeted federal restrictions or funding cuts. School districts promoting inclusive curricula could be subject to federal investigations or regulatory penalties. Environmental regulations stricter than federal baselines could be nullified. Health departments issuing guidance based on scientific consensus rather than federal political messaging could find themselves defunded or silenced. This logic extends even further into administrative preemption. Through executive orders, agency rulemaking, and reinterpretation of existing statutes, Project 2025 proposes to centralize decision-making within the executive branch, particularly the White House itself. The goal is to limit the discretion of independent agencies, curtail judicial oversight through legal reinterpretation, and reduce the role of career civil servants in favor of politically loyal appointees. Local and state governments, already constrained by budgetary dependence on federal funding, would find themselves increasingly subordinated to the ideological directives of Washington. Yet, the project simultaneously refuses accountability for this power. The expansion of federal authority is not accompanied by a corresponding expansion of transparency or democratic input. The states are told they are free until they are not. Local officials are told they are trusted until they dissent. The same movement that rails against federal mandates for vaccinations or education equity enthusiastically proposes federal mandates to criminalize abortion, override LGBTQ+ protections, or deploy National Guard troops in response to protests. This is not federalism. It is federal dominance masked as freedom. In practice, this model creates a dual system of governance, one in which local autonomy is preserved for jurisdictions aligned with Project 2025's ideological framework, and one in which opposition localities are punished, overwritten, or defunded. A conservative state may ban books, criminalize reproductive care, and implement religious instruction in schools with impunity. A progressive city attempting to protect undocumented residents or expand climate resilience infrastructure may find itself targeted as a threat to national order. The rule of law becomes not a shield of consistency, but a weapon of partisan enforcement. At the heart of this federalization is a deeper ambition to consolidate a national moral order. The project is not content with policy victories at the federal level. It seeks to impose a unified cultural narrative across the country. Diversity of values, norms, and legal interpretations is treated as degeneracy or fragmentation. The ideal is a nation governed not by compromise or pluralism, but by moral clarity imposed from the top down. And because this moral vision is explicitly theocratic in tone, framed in terms of divine law, natural order, and biblical precedent, it does not tolerate deviation. It punishes it. This ambition is facilitated by the restructuring of institutions that once served as buffers against federal overreach. The independence of the Department of Justice, the neutrality of the civil service, and the technical expertise of agencies like the CDC, EPA, and Department of Education are all treated as obstacles to be overcome. These bodies are not simply reoriented, they are reconstructed. Expertise is replaced with loyalty. Dissent is cast as sabotage. The very idea of institutional independence is redefined as obstruction. This consolidation of power also threatens the democratic process at its most immediate level, local elections and civic participation. Project 2025 proposes structural changes that could limit the scope of municipal governance, reduce the power of school boards, and centralize election administration. Voter access measures passed at the local level may be preempted by federal restrictions. Grassroots organizing may be surveilled under the guise of national security. Local journalists, activists, and public servants may find themselves criminalized or discredited for resisting federally imposed orthodoxy. Should I go on?
Oh no, if you need to stop, that's fine. I can finish up this little section. Thank you so much, Judith.
Okay.
All right. What emerges from this system is not simply a strong federal government. It is an authoritarian model of governance cloaked in the language of efficiency and morality. The principle of subsidiarity, that decisions should be made at the most local possible level, is abandoned in favor of political structure that tolerates only one vision of the good. This is not an accident. It is the mechanism by which a theocratic police state is enforced, not through the outright abolition of local governance, but through the instrumentalization and subjugation. And the consequences are profound. A local government that cannot respond to the needs of its residents is not a democratic institution. It is an administrative arm of a centralized control. In a school board that cannot set curriculum, a city council that cannot protect its constituents, a mayor who cannot shield their community from federal intrusion. These are not public servants in a democracy. They are managers in a managed system, constrained not by law, but by ideology. This is the true face of the federal takeover proposed by Project 2025, not the expansion of public service, but the expansion of control. A nation where local governance exists only at the pleasure of federal authority, a republic in name, but a hierarchy in fact. Dr. Melissa, would you like to read this next part? Surveillance, social control, and the new normal.
Yes, I will. Let's see. One of the most revealing elements of Project 2025 is not found in its overt legislative proposals or cultural rhetoric. It resides instead in the infrastructure it envisions. All infrastructure not of roads or schools, and infrastructure not of roads or schools, but of surveillance, discipline, and behavioral regulation. At its core, Project 2025 advances a vision of society in which the state's role is not merely to govern through law, but to shape, conduct, monitor, shape conduct, monitor allegiance, and enforce conformity. This is not the incidental byproduct of a conservative revival. It is the architecture of a theocratic police state, one that normalizes social control as a feature of civic life. To understand this transformation, we must first acknowledge a key shift in governance, the expansion of surveillance from a tool of national security into a pervasive instrument of social management. Under Project 2025, surveillance is not limited to threats from abroad or organized crime. It extends into the everyday lives of citizens. The mechanisms are varied: facial recognition systems in public spaces, biometric databases, data harvesting from phones and social media, predictive policing algorithms, and AI-driven behavioral analytics. What unites these technologies is their function, not only to detect crime, but to preempt dissent. This shift is ideological as much as technological. Project 2025 reframes surveillance as an act of moral stewardship. It is not just about safety, it is about order, decency, and national character. The targets of this system are not only criminals, but those who deviate from the prescribed norms: immigrants, trans youth, activists, journalists, educators, religious minorities. Surveillance becomes a method of enforcing cultural boundaries, where what matters is not just what people do, but who they are, who they associate with, and how they think. The moralization of surveillance dovetails with the project's theocratic ambitions. If the state is understood as a guardian of divine or natural law, then surveillance becomes a form of sanctified discipline. The border between sin and crime is blurred. Deviance, whether in gender identity, sexual orientation, or reproductive choices, or political expression, is recast as danger. And danger, once identified, must be managed, neutralized, or removed. Surveillance in this context is not passive observation. It is the first step in a process of categorization, punishment, and erasure. The consequences of this approach are immediate and profound. In schools, surveillance technologies may be used to monitor students' online activity, restrict access to information, or report signs of ideological noncompliance. In workplaces, algorithmic tracking can be used to penalize organizing efforts or discipline expressions of solidarity. In places of worship, political speech can be monitored under the guise of counterterrorism. In the home, parental rights may be invoked not to protect families, but to justify the state's oversight of reproductive decisions, child-rearing practices, and educational choices. This is the new normal envisioned by Project 2025, a society where freedom is redefined not as autonomy, but as obedience to an imposed moral code, where the presumption of innocence is eroded by algorithmic suspicion, where the line between public and private life disappears, replaced by a constant state of exposure, where participation in public discourse or protest can trigger surveillance, flagging, or placement on government watch lists. The chilling effect is deliberate. It ensures not only that dissent is punished, but that it becomes unthinkable. The danger is compounded by the privatization of surveillance functions. Project 2025 encourages close collaboration between the state and the private tech firms, particularly those willing to align their data practices with ideological goals. This creates a diffuse but coordinated regime of control. Government outsources repression to corporations, while corporations benefit from state protection and market access. The result is a surveillance system that evades constitutional scrutiny, operating not through public warrants or court orders, but through terms of service, user agreements, and silent partnerships. This fusion of state and corporate power is accompanied by a language of legitimacy. Surveillance is marketed as efficiency. Predictive policing is framed as innovation. Data collection is justified as personalization. But beneath this rhetoric lies the same logic that has historically enabled authoritarian regimes. The belief that society is safest when it is watched, that order requires control, and that control must be total to be effective. In this environment, public institutions are reshaped. Libraries, schools, clinics, and community centers are no longer neutral spaces. They become sites of ideological monitoring. Teachers may be required to report on students who question curriculum changes. Doctors may be pressured to share data about patients seeking reproductive care. Social workers may be forced to collaborate with immigration authorities. The very people trained to support and empower the vulnerable become agents of institutional surveillance, caught in a web of coercion, liability, and fear. At the same time, those with the power to resist, journalists, whistleblowers, public interest lawyers, find themselves discredited, silenced, or criminalized. Press freedoms are eroded through selective prosecution. Investigative reporting is framed as espionage or defamation. The legal system, traditionally a safeguard against overreach, is flooded with partisan judges who prioritize loyalty over constitutional rights. What results is not the open suppression of liberty, but its incremental erosion, masked by legality and legitimized through moral panic. Project 2025 does not need to declare martial law or suspend elections to achieve its vision. It only needs to normalize surveillance as civic duty, criminalize deviation as instability, and incentivize complicity through fear and reward. This is the essence of social control in a theocratic police state, not mass arrests, but mass conformity, not tanks in the street, but cameras in every hallway, not grand decrees, but quiet policies that shape behavior until the boundaries of freedom are no longer visible because they have been internalized. Oh, I can finish this. Like this is the end, I think, or close to it. The long-term effect of such a system is not just repression, it is transformation. A generation raised under constant observation learns to self-censor, to obey without being asked, to accept that the private self must always be curated for public inspection. Creativity, dissent, and solidarity wither. Democratic participation shrinks. Trust between neighbors, citizens, and institutions erodes. The society that emerges is orderly but hollow. It functions, but it does not flourish. This is the future Project 2025 offers. Not a dramatic rupture, but a quiet descent into surveillance-driven conformity. A state that watches not to protect, but to mold. A people who are not free, but disciplined into thinking they are.
Thank you, Melissa. That's, yeah, terrible. That's terrifying.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, everyone, that, yeah. And that last part there, just before we get started, the long-term effect of such a system is not just repression, it's transformation, where we learn to self-censor and obey without being asked, and where it creates something that's hollow into something that functions but doesn't flourish. I want to say that that reminds me of what my Christmas felt like, where I spent Christmas with my MAGA family and we pretended that everything was okay and pretended, and by no politics, no religion, right? We weren't allowed to talk about anything. I wasn't allowed to watch news while I was there. I wasn't allowed to talk about my life at all, because obviously that would break the spell of what we were trying to cast, I guess. And that's what this sounds like to me, that they're trying to cast a spell on everybody, and everybody's supposed to go with it. They're supposed to be in on it and hold it up. And it's exhausting. I just wanted to let all you know it's exhausting to hold it up. Bruce, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Sure. I've said it before, and I'll say it again about this chapter. These people don't belong in this country. It's totally contrary to the Constitution, and I'll go through a few points on that. But I mean, this is disgusting. And what was that sentence towards the end where they said it all? The legal system is where partisan judges prioritize loyalty over constitutional rights. That's the only way this would get through. I mean, it talks about immigrants being a threat to sovereignty, security, and civilization. We're all immigrants, for crying out loud. That's where we all came from eventually, you know, or sometime in our past. And basically they're saying, well, you've got to, there can be no dissent. You've got to conform to everything that they want, that the federal government, especially the executive, there's no balance of power. The executive controls everything. It controls the local, which means, I mean, that's against 10th Amendment. I mean, we could go on and on about what the problems are. Citizenship is not by birth. Well, unless the Supreme Court changes that right now, this is not the way the Constitution reads. And, you know, the access to public services is conditioned on legal status. It's contrary to the Equal Protection Clause.
Right.
And on and on and on, where it's just a different country that they want. And it's not something that should be even considered for our country. And the surveillance reminds me of 1984, where the government is watching every move you make. Really very concerning that people could think about this and to insert this in our country. Very concerning, and I'll leave it there.
I agree with you, and I agree. They're not very American. Dissent is like, weren't we born of dissent? I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
they take away the right to protest. I mean, it's you could go step by step by step,
Right.
and I only went through a few.
Thanks, Bruce. Raise your hand again if you want. You know you can. Dr. Melissa.
Hi. Interestingly, while Russell vote reminds me of that, this policy and these processes seem more like consistent with Russell vote as far as the subtle takeover aspect. We are seeing more like tanks in the street. Maybe not tanks, but um, federal
Guns.
armies in certain cities. So it's like there's some preemptive move there. It isn't just that subtle reimagining. It's also an enforcement.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that. All right, Rebecca.
So I know I'm probably skipping ahead a little bit to the action items
That's okay.
that we like to talk about, but those last couple of sentences that you highlighted as well, um, about how this is all hollow, like the three sentences, it kind of gave me a roadmap to what we need to do to resist. Like,
Mhm.
if this is the natural consequence of what they're trying to do, then basically it tells us the areas that we need to focus on. So it said creativity, dissent, and solidarity wither. Okay, well then let's all focus on being creative and being loud in our dissent and standing in solidarity with each other. Democratic participation shrinks. Well, I'm sure as hell going to vote and I'm going to get some people registered and I'm going to try and be an election judge. And like, it just gives us focus areas that we need to go um, really form our action plans against.
That's right. It gives a strategy, like where we can just narrow. That's right. They think that why did they publish it?
It's
I
so
I
stupid.
I know. I still go back. Why did they publish it? I mean, anyway, sorry. Okay, Sabrina, you're up next.
Hey, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it was, I'm not sure who it was, somebody put in the chat that the Dems are, of course, folding once again. And I just want to say, we are not gonna win this fight if our leaders keep folding. Like, the only power they had was to hold up all the other funding. That's the only power they had. And they said, oh, we'll go ahead and vote through everything except for DHS, which will give a couple of weeks. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll do exactly nothing about it because that's what's going to happen. I am so over. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of these. The Republicans are bad, but the Dems are like the good guy helping them out. I'm going to stand here and watch while you guys do horrible things and do nothing about it. Ugh, I'm sorry. I'm very upset about this. I want to go to Washington and stand outside of Congress with a freaking thing saying, get some balls. Sorry. I'm just
No,
so tired of this. Ugh. Anyway, sorry. I'm not sure what the action item here is. I'm too annoyed right now. Thank you.
the action item here is we have to primary our own people. We have to figure out, we have to find the fighters because our own leadership is failing us. But we will get there, Sabrina. Robin, you're up next.
Oh my God. It is scary stuff that we read, okay? But anyway, I'm very hopeful that people are waking up, okay? And we have to wake more people up. And when I went to the mega meeting, Bruce, yeah, we we all, I asked those people, mega people, I said, where did you come from? Are you third, fourth, fifth generation? But where did you come from? This is not your country. This belongs to some native people over here. They're named Indians because whoever was looking for India, that he ended up here, and that's how they call them American Indians. But anyway, you and Cecilia, I heard you. Oh my God. It is scary when we are not with the people who are, like people when you I feel that energy when like I felt with the mega people the second meeting. First meeting I didn't. Like I sat in a corner away from everybody. And the second time I just sat with the flow, who's the founder, and then the Tom guy who was the moderator. I could feel, I mean, not the full, the girl lady, she's a nice lady. She's quiet. She doesn't even say anything, but you could feel the energy, you feel like it's a anger, hate, like immigrants have taken over their country. And I said, you know what? This country, they made on immigrants. It's the backbone that is of America, the middle class is built by immigrants.
Yeah.
So they were speechless. They didn't have, and the guy said, oh, time is up, time is up. Sit down, sit down, sit down. So anyway, it is scary. Oh my God, I don't know. I'm just hoping that everybody gonna come out on the streets
We'll
and
come out.
show this the solidarity like they're doing, the Minnesota people are showing. But I feel sad that those two people, especially, I mean, there are quite a few are killed, but only we like two are being really, really out in the public, that how they're brutally been killed.
You're right. We need to talk about all of them, Robin. You're right.
And the other are ignored. And I guess this surveillance thing, I think this Alex Priti he was being surveillanced. Okay, this is what I hear. I mean, he had a week before they broke his ribs.
They broke his ribs, yeah. Or his
So,
rib. He had one rib broken.
or one, they tackled him down, whatever, but he was on their radar. So
Yeah.
I think they were taking his revenge or something. I don't know. So anyway, Minnesota is being very strong state. Looks like they're rising up to these goons, I call them. So we'll see what happens. People are scared. They are scared. Most people do get scared.
I know,
Uh,
honey. I got other hands up. I gotta
okay,
put
go,
your
go,
hand
go.
back up, okay?
It's okay.
If you have something else to say, okay?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Good seeing
Okay.
you, Cecilia.
Good seeing you too. All right, Ellen, you're up next. Did I get you?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I've been in the hospital this week for a kidney stone. But anyhow,
Oh,
that's
dear God,
reading.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm back in the land of the living. But but thank you for, boy, this reading is so profound. Did anybody figure out who the author is, or if we can
We
get in
haven't been
touch
able
with
to
him?
find him yet, no.
Wow, he's very smart. What a service this is. And so, I'm running for Congress. I think all of y'all should run for Congress. We need to be there. We need to at least be on the ballot. I just had to stand out and get 1,270 signatures, right? And find the good people. But also, I'm digging up dirt on Michael Quigley, and I'm going to get in touch with somebody from the Indivisible around here, and where there's a League of Women Voters. Going to be debates and the Tribune. But I think what's hard for women particularly is kind of confronting Quigley somehow on this. I'm finding out that he took 250,000 from APAC, which developed Palantir, and the American Israeli Political Action supports 98% of the people. So I'm saying I'm a Thomas Massey Democrat, is somebody who's independent, and we need to be truthers united. But we've got to challenge these people that are they seem like good guys, right? They're Democrats,
Right.
but we really have to challenge them, and
We do.
right, and fight, and also a MAGA family. I'm from that too. I really picked up on the word trust because I think society has changed. So anyhow, I'll come back around if I think of
All
something.
right.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Mhm. All right, Judith, you're up next. You're already unmuted.
I
Unmuted.
am. I'm sorry. I didn't realize
Don't
that.
apologize. You're fine. You've been fine. You've been
Okay.
quiet as a mouse.
Okay. Yeah. A couple of things. One thing that really scared me lots of things scared me in what we just read, but the user agreements in anything, when you get
Right.
a new internet system or something, there's always a user agreement,
Yes.
and you have no choice since they're very long and chock full of legal terms. You have no choice but to click on agree, and that's so scary. What am I agreeing to? It would be nice if there was some organization that could sort through it all for us.
It would be
and
nice
tell us-
if you had an option.
Guess what? There
Yeah.
is one.
There
It's
is?
called TOSDR. It's Terms of Service Didn't Read. I just
Hey,
found out about it yesterday.
look at
And
that.
what do they do,
Synchronicity, as Boot
Rebecca?
Money would say.
What do they do, this organization? How do I get
Well,
to them?
it's tosdr.org,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll show you really fast.
I'm guessing that they read your terms of service that we don't read.
They do. And they give them a little grade about what you're signing up for and whether it's bad or not.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
That-
tosdr.org. Sorry,
Oh,
I just
that's
found out
wonderful.
about it and I was like, bleh.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to look into that. Yeah, that
Me
was
too.
that was one thing that I wanted to voice, that I was really scared by that realization, and that it is a big surveillance thing. And I always knew it was somewhat dangerous to just click on the thing, but I mean, this puts it in a much different context. That, and then this thing about the church and state separation. I mean, Bruce touched on it in his remarks, and I can see where some people, there have always been communities like the Calvinists in Switzerland and such, they want just one set of rules, okay? Have it really easy to follow and everything like that. But we've been doing fine with two sets of rules, for 250 years now. Really, we've been doing okay. It's not perfect, but we're okay. And some people just want, maybe they're just really simple-minded and they just want one set of rules because that's all they can follow. I don't know, but that's really maddening. And we have to struggle against it as much as we can. And I'm really glad, I'm really glad that the Pope is an American and that he has experience in South America and that he can talk to at least some of these people who would kind of back the moral clarity argument, in Project 2025.
Yes.
Catholics kind of buy into this to a certain degree. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but and so we have a Pope now who says if you are pro-life, you have to be pro-immigrant, and
Right.
he has all these good insights, and he's also a bit of a counterweight to the international embarrassment that is Trump, and he's an American, but he's a good guy, and
Yes.
it's really nice to have that. So those are my remarks so far. I had a couple other questions. Oh, I also wanted to ask Jeannie in Georgia what she thinks about the raid on the Atlanta Elections Center today, because that's really awful. Maybe you guys mentioned that. I joined a little bit late, but anyway, that's it.
We have
Thank
not
you.
talked about it just yet, but I'm sure
Okay.
somebody will. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Melissa, what's up?
I want to mention this. I saw this. It was a great, what was on, I guess it's a podcast, Jon Stewart
Mhm.
weekly show. And I saw
Oh,
it
that was
last week. It's the
great.
one from the 21st. And it was with Adam Tooze and Ivan Krostev. And this is in relation to the part that we just read about um, thinking about the diminution of people who are here in this country from other countries. Like in other words, and what the point that came up there, which was kind of scary, was that there are a lot of countries that have immigrants where they don't give them any citizenship or rights. They just have them work. And so it's like there's a worker class. They like worker bees or drones or something. I mean, so like he said, Hungary is like that. Hungary is like, oh, anti-immigrant. We want to have a pure society. They take tons of immigrants from other places and they just have them work and they will never give them citizenship apparently,
Right.
or it's very difficult. So that was fascinating. And because I think Dubai is totally like that, right? Where a lot of people work there, you can never be a citizen.
Right.
So it just worth considering. We need to make that not what we do. You know what I mean? Aside from, oh, let's get rid of immigrants and purify our culture. Let's not also have just a worker class where they can't get any benefits because we want to help people work here because people have been working here a long time. And that's maybe been we've had a subtle form of that, where people can come illegally and then you're kind of at the mercy of other people turning you in. So you have to just keep working. And so we just need really some reforms around that.
We were the one place where a person could emigrate and become an American. Like you could become what you can't go to France and be a Frenchman. I mean, I guess you can
Yeah,
become,
France.
but,
Yeah.
but you can
England.
emigrate to France, but you're not a Frenchman. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a
There's
difference.
a path to culture as well as citizenship, or there has been, and this is what they are trying to get rid of. They want it to be like maybe only if you have property, you get more voting rights if you have more kids, things like that. What's his name, the vice president has been talking about for a long time.
Right.
Totally different model.
Totally different.
Yeah, but this was, if you want to see that, there's a lot of amazing things. It's really more about the Davos experience. And this may seem passé, but it's really very relevant. It's amazing.
I agree.
I'm going to watch them all from now on.
Because those are the people who run the world, I tell you. Miss Sharon, I have a feeling you are going to talk to us about action items, which I am all for. I hope you are dropping them in the chat.
I did.
Good.
First of all, I tried to take my blood pressure while you were reading, and it was off the scale.
Oh,
And I got it down to 148/75. So
maybe we should do the deep breathing after the reading instead of before.
yeah. It was
both
very scary in the sense of, like they brainwashing the whole society. And they got these young kids as ICE, and they brainwashing them. Like you said, immigrants are the enemy and Black people are this, and they breaking it down, these people. And I think at the last thing when we was talking about corporations, I said we got to change our tactics because what they're doing to us, they're doing to themselves. Okay? I mean, they're in the same boat that we are in, and they can't see it because they're so busy attacking the other people, and they think they're the cream of the crop.
Mhm.
And Trump has already, I mean, he promised people things and then back out. They can't trust them. But anyway, I do have a call to action working with corporations. It's in the chat. And what I want people to do is write letters to the board of directors of the companies that are being boycotted. Everything is self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. I think a lot of these board of directors, I mean, we diving into the total outcome of Project 2025. I don't even think our senators and legislators are deep involved in it. You know what I'm saying? Like we are, because they would be afraid too. And I think they would be speaking up if they knew the gravity of this Project 2025. I'm asking people to write letters to the corporations. And when you read it, I put some of their salaries in there. Now you got Jeff Bezos making 40 million a year. Someone's making 24 million a year, 17 million a year. How much more money do you need? But they pay their workers like 41,000 a year. You know what I'm saying?
If
So
that.
huh?
If they don't pay them hourly wages, and then
Right. And what can you, I mean, so you're working there and you could barely pay your house note, buy food. You're paying for the necessities. Forget about quality of life. And I mean, I was blown away. You making $40 million a year. You don't ever have to work again in your life. You just live off the interest. But that shows you about a good sign of the greed.
Yes, ma'am.
So please participate in the letter writing. I would like you to mail your letters or the week of February 17th, so everyone can kind of do it together. So it'd be a mass influx of letters, and I'll be sending it out to my contacts as well. So thank you. So what is our call to action on this?
Okay, Miss Sharon. Well, we got 5 minutes left, and that is, and our call to action on this is actually to call faith leaders and to call faith leaders in your area and to ask them what they are doing about the white nationalism in your area, if they are calling attention to it in your area, if they have had a Bible study about it, if it's evangelical, if you're calling an evangelical.
Okay, could someone do a template of a letter and we can mail it out?
I can come up with something like that, sure.
We
Leslie,
did it before, but
Hey, wait a minute. This is Chris. Sharon?
We did come up with them before.
You know how to do templates of letters? I know you do.
What?
I said, you know how to do templates of letters. We had a conversation about this.
I don't want the job.
Okay. Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Leslie, you're up next.
Hi. First of all, I'm old enough to remember protesting for against the Vietnam War. And I want to remind everybody that it's not the first time that we've been lied to by our government. But I wanted to also put on some rose-colored glasses and lift us up a little bit, thinking about how we've been a democracy for so long that there's many of us who will never bend the knee. It will just not work. They don't know what they're up against. The American people have a different kind of I don't know, mentality or whatever you want to call it. We are just not like that. We just can't become like that. There's the people who are trying to make us like that are delusional. They really are. Of course, we know how to fight against it, and we're doing that. We're doing a really good job. I'm very proud of everybody who talks and does everything and all the protesting that's going out there. Every time they talk about somebody who now sees that the government is doing the wrong thing, I'm thinking, what took you so long?
Yeah.
It's it's just like everybody is saying, it's very un-American, and we are Americans, and they can't take that away from us. The American dream lives within all of us, and they're delusional.
They're right. You're right. I mean, you're right. They're delusional. That's,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I would say that's what I said earlier. Like, they are not very American. We were born from descent. Like, we're natural born dissenters. Like,
Yep. Okay,
Robin,
thank you.
thank you, y'all. We're getting to that time. So I need to, we're moving on to, I'm
Yeah,
going to
timekeeper is making enforcing the we need this cats thing today. That was a heavy chapter. So
okay.
Merit won't take it if we don't get the cats.
Yeah,
chapter
Merritt
today.
will not take another week without the cat book. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna make a legitimate decision that we're not going to be taking any more comments today. I apologize. However, put your comments in the chat and we can always talk about them later. So, for those of you, your first time here, we are now moving on to Lessons from Cats for Surviving Fascism by Stuart Brittlestar Reynolds. This is a beautiful little companion piece to our other piece. And we will be in chapter 9 also today, and it is Keep Your Claws Sharp. Yeah. Even the fluffiest, most cuddly cat has a hidden arsenal of razor-sharp claws, and they aren't afraid to use them. One moment, they're purring in your lap. The next, they're swiping at you because you dared to pet them in the wrong spot. My belly, are you insane? Cats don't start fights because they sure know how to end them. And that's a lesson we should all remember when dealing with fascists. Fascists, despite their swagger, are terrified of sharp resistance, both literal and metaphorical. They thrive on compliance, preferring a world full of declawed dissenters who can't scratch back. But much like cats, you should never let them think you're defenseless. Sure, you might be soft, approachable, and even charming when it suits you. But if they back you into a corner, that's when the claws come out. Cats don't swipe indiscriminately. They're precise. They savor the time waiting for conditions to be perfect, then strike with an efficiency that leaves their opponent stunned and occasionally bleeding. Fascists, on the other hand, are deeply unprepared for this kind of calculated retaliation. They're used to heavy-handed resistance that they can label and suppress, but a well-timed scratch, a cutting remark, a sharp protest, or a biting comedic commentary posted online, that's the kind of resistance they are woefully unprepared for. Imagine a fascist trying to corner a metaphorical cat. Just comply, they'll demand, waving their finger like it's a sword. But instead of rolling over, the cat would casually unsheath its claws, stretch for dramatic effect, and deliver one precise swipe that eviscerates their finger and sends the fascist's confidence flying across the room. What just happened? They'd cry, clutching their bruised egos. What happened, dear leader, is that you underestimated the cat. The key is to keep your claws metaphorically sharp at all times. Stay informed, stay prepared, and don't let anyone dull your edge. Resistance doesn't have to be constant, but it does need to be effective. A single well-placed strike at the right policy, the right institution, or the right figurehead can have more impact than 1,000 unfocused jabs. Cats also remind us that claws are as much about confidence as they are about defense. A cat who knows it can scratch if needed walks differently. It's bold, unbothered, and maybe even a little cocky. Fascists hate that energy. They prefer you cower, second-guessing yourself and your ability to fight back. But when you walk into the room with the quiet confidence of a cat who knows its claws are sharp, that's when you become a real threat. Of course, using your claws doesn't mean abandoning kindness or strategy. Cats are still cuddly, after all. They just know when cuddles aren't enough. The same goes for you. Be approachable, be kind, but don't be afraid to strike when the situation demands it. A well-timed scratch, after all, is worth 1,000 words, and often speaks louder than any argument ever could. So keep your claws sharp. Stay ready to defend yourself, your values, and your space. And if fascists think they can push you around without consequence, remind them, swiftly and effectively, that even the softest paws can leave a mark. Because at the end of the day, resistance isn't about constant aggression. It's about knowing when to act. And when the moment comes, scratch back. Yay! Okay, Marta, what can you kept your hand up that whole time, so I assume that what you have to say is like impactful.
No, I just didn't notice my hand was up.
Oh, well then.
I was enjoying the cats too much. So
Never mind then. Never mind then. I'm happy that you enjoyed it. Dr. Melissa? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to repeat something. First of all, I love the cats, and I think it was perfect for this particular reading. And we have to be those cats. And I also just have to ask, are we really talking about religion? Is it something where people are just so religious they've created this document, or is religion in the service of control? It's just something that I'm asking myself.
Ooh, okay.
Now's your hand up?
Now my hand's up. Am I still on?
Yeah,
Melissa, I saw your question in the comments, and I thought we were going to be done chatting.
No, go for it.
I think there are people who are very comfortable feeling like it's their religion because it makes them feel right? But
yeah.
I think we're looking at the use of hierarchical institutions that have traditionally been hierarchical. And so there are certain people who gravitate to that like very hierarchy. And at the same time, there are people who want the lessons that the religion is supposed to teach. So I think the Catholic Church was brought up, and I feel like it's so confusing. But if you just think of our country, it's almost it's like a mirror of it. I mean, there are people who are using things that are in place very cynically to wield power. And then there are other people like us who are really drawn to the principles of democracy. So it's messy. I think you can look at the same church, and I haven't chimed in with this, but there are several churches in the Chicago area that are working with Jesuit relief services, and they're doing all kinds of stuff right now. And they would say it's based on their faith. And then we have Peter Thiel in the same church, but it's like our country. I think it's like how people in other nations look at our country, and it's kind of mind-blowing that we're all sort of existing together. But I think there are people who just use those structures. That's
Right.
just my take on it, is there's people who have taken advantage of certain structures that serve them well, or that they can see the way to use it to dominate other people.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we're going to end with Marta because that was a perfect place to end. Like, that was just so well landed. You landed that like, woo, perfectly. And y'all, listen, let me just say, first of all, great conversation. That was hard. We had a lot to go through. We had a lot to talk about, and it wasn't easy. I thank you to everybody who read. Thank you to everybody who spoke up. Thank you to everybody who talked in the chat. Thank you to everybody who has offered to help. I have somebody who's going to help me pull up Miss Sharon. I have somebody who's going to help me write that. She's going to email it to me, and I will get it to you tomorrow morning, or at the very latest tomorrow by 5. Okay. And 5 my time, not your time.
Okay, it'd be 3 my time.
Right.
You know,
all right.
don't rush,
Okay, we won't
put a lot
rush.
on your plate.
We won't rush.
Self-care.
That's right. That's my next point. Thank you. Self-care, and Robin wants to say something.
Cecilia, I want to ask a question to Rebecca that
real quick. We got like 2 minutes, Robin.
I agree. A statement. When they ask you for whatever, I agree, and we don't read it. So how do we the one she put the link? How do we apply that when we don't?
I'll talk to you about that.
Okay,
I'll talk to you about that.
Okay, when you have time. No emergency.
I will. Yes.
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, guys.
Good night.
As for, we have what is tonight? I know I'm coming to it. What do we have the hard stop for?
Violence
against
gun control.
Yes, gun control. Thank you. So tonight at 7 o'clock, our gun control Stand with Women group. We're please come back. That's what I know. I'm coming back. I just didn't know what I was coming back for. It's on my calendar. Okay, and tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We have coffee and conversation, and tomorrow at 5 we have the Unhappy Happy Hour. Y'all, again, a tasty stew. I thank you so much for being here. Please, if you would like another serving, we serve a second helping on Sundays at 9. And I'll talk more about how we're going to move that later in the day after the Super Bowl next Thursday. Okay. So I will, I'll see you then. Y'all have a lovely day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chris, glad you're okay.
No
You went
doubt.
back for no second time.